Hi, everybody. This is Tao Wong again from Starlit Publishing, and this is another conversation with an author that I know. In this case, Rob Billiau. I'm going to let Rob introduce himself as always.
So I'm Rob Billiau. I write some lit RPG, some for adults, but then I mostly write what's called Minecraft fiction for 8 to 12 year olds. It's middle grade chapter books, and it became my wheelhouse, and I've been quite successful with it. We've got fans all over the world, and I absolutely love getting to do it.
I think I think quite successful is an understatement. I think I have no idea actually how many books, did you ever count how many books you've sold now?
Well, sold, I know we're over, I think like 30,000. It's pretty crazy in terms of paperbacks, which it's kind of fun because a lot of lit RPG doesn't sell
No.
paperbacks so much. But in my genre, because it's catered to kids, we actually do get to sell a lot of paperbacks, which is really, really kind of cool to see, to know that, these books actually exist floating around out there in the world. I love it. To date, I have, let's see, 25,000 print books sold and 40,000 digital books sold. So
That's
about 65,000 books sold, but that's, like lit RPG, most of my income comes from page reads and Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, so that's a large chunk on top of that too.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about lack of print, we have, I don't know, I think we sell maybe 1,000 copies for across all my series,
Yeah.
slightly more, uh, about 1,200 copies a year.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, there's
That's
definitely a big
across,
difference there.
yeah, it's across the whole, all my series, and I've got like 50 plus books out, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, it's like, I think thanks to Kickstarter, our percentage of revenue from print has gone up, but we're still in the
Oh,
like,
that's nice.
yeah, well, I mean, our most recent Kickstarter for Immortal Connections, we made something like 20,000 Canadian.
Oh,
So
nice. That's
that's,
great.
they can't complain really.
Oh, I got to
Uh,
get on that Kickstarter bandwagon.
It is. I mean, we can chat about that too, about what's going on. Kickstarter is actually really useful if you're doing physical books in
Hmm.
particular. Kickstarter people like physical stuff. The
Oh,
prettier physical stuff. And I did a post in Threads about it, but also there'll be another business blog post about, the breakdown on it later. But it's the special deluxe editions where, every book is like $100. You make so much more money
oh yeah.
relatively to like this most recent Kickstarter, where it's still a deluxe edition. It's still a nice edition for the book, and we sold a lot of hardcovers, 120 plus, I think is the count. Uh,
That's great.
yeah, no, it's great. But comparatively, our revenue is like half. So
Yeah.
it's quite a variation. But yeah, Kickstarter can be really good for upping stuff. But yeah, our total revenue is still only like 2% as an indie author kind of thing, right?
Yeah. But
That's
hey, every little bit, you kind of need to
no,
pile
it,
on as
it
many different revenue sources as possible.
Yeah, exactly. I can't complain about it. You get that and you put it in. We're at the point where we're producing so many physical books, and because you're doing offset print runs, it sometimes makes more sense to make 500 copies of a book
Oh,
rather than
wow.
250 copies or whatever. It
Yeah.
literally is the difference. I was looking at the numbers earlier today. Uh, for the hardcovers, if we made 250 copies, it was going to cost us $14.80 something cents,
Goodness.
not including shipping or anything to make it. If we do 500 copies, it's like $9.80 something cents.
Wow. That's a huge difference.
500 is where you really want to be able,
Okay.
minimum, I think. And then after that, it's 1,000. For you guys, I would almost wonder if it makes sense for you to look into print production. because you do a lot of in-person sales too.
We do, but it's really tough to even break even on that.
Mm.
Well, with the cost that we're paying through Amazon right now, it's about, I want to say, $5 or $6 a book to print, and then Amazon then takes their cut, of course, and then so we don't. It's tough when you factor in all the different fees. We really get the fan base and the acknowledgement of being able to talk to people out of it more than actually breaking. We break even, or we even make a little bit of profit every time, but it's not enough to say, okay, well, I'm going to stop writing for this week so I can plan and do this and get it all done.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying I was thinking it might be worthwhile for you to look because your books aren't that, especially with those, they
Yeah.
shouldn't be that expensive. You can probably bring your cost down to like $2 a
Oh, that
book,
would be fantastic.
right?
There is a
And
problem with that, though, which I'll give you a little inside baseball about my particular niche that I write in. Companies don't want to touch it. Like Ingram Spark won't have anything to do with me. Draft to digital, nope, they won't. They won't touch it because of the licensing issue with dealing with Minecraft. Now, Mojang has a very broad license, which allows me to do what I do. It
yeah,
allows people to make T-shirts and all that stuff. And in my opinion, it's probably the smartest decision any company like this could make because all it is free advertising for them. But that license still isn't enough for companies like Ingram Spark or whomever to print books for us.
yeah, no, I get that. Talk to me afterwards, because we do a lot of printing through China.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. No,
Okay.
almost all our print runs happen through China,
Oh.
because they're so much better and so much cheaper. The local fellas, especially the offset print runs, uh,
Hmm.
the local fellas do not. They're not even close to terms both in terms of pricing as well as just their machine capabilities. Like if you
Oh, that's
want
interesting.
editions, um, especially if you're doing deluxe editions, you want things like glossy
Oh, yeah.
covers, or you want the size, or you want a ribbon, or there's a whole bunch of things that they just can't do because they don't have the machines. They don't own the
Yeah.
machines.
Well,
And
I can't
then
tell you how many copies of my own book I've gotten back from Amazon, and the cover is washed out or the bleed is all off, and I've just been so disappointed. And I just have to wonder, I've got 25,000 books out there. How many of them have terrible covers or
yeah.
bleed issues or whatever?
I would, yeah, we certainly should talk offline about that. And
Yeah.
I think you should really explore potentially uh, physically. The only problem with physically printing and keeping your own copies is keeping your own copies because, you get 500 copies of books, they're going to pile up somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your living situation
I've
is.
already got a whole shelf in my garage filled with books.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to be like, oh, I need a storage locker or something
I
kind
mean,
of.
so the nice thing is, so this I have like 4 or 5 series, but only 2 of them are my main series. So really, all I ever need to do is have book ones of all of that. I don't need to print. Here's one of my series is 44 books long, so I don't need to print 44 different books. I just need 200 copies of book one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I would certainly talk to them about it. And then if you can sell online through Seller Central and whatnot. I mean, one of the biggest things that we've been slowly poking at is looking at distribution, physical distribution
Hmm.
options. Like I know Aton has their whole thing where they've started doing physical distribution for a lot of other people.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't hear about that. That's
oh,
fascinating.
yeah, you should take a look at the press release on it. Everyone from Chatfield to Luke to Phil. I think Phil Tucker has uh like they've got a huge chunk of people. What they did was they bought out a company. I can't remember the name of the company right now. But they bought out another publishing company that had access to the distribution network in England,
Interesting.
and so now they are pushing their own books and
Through
license
that.
books. Yeah, true, true. that they're putting it in the catalogs for people to buy and whatnot. So books
Wow.
should start hitting the shelves February, March, or around that period, about the same time as my own the 1,000 the first step is out, really.
Yeah. That looks
Yeah.
good, by the way. Oh man.
I am incredibly happy with both the cover and just the back end side of it.
Yeah.
Watching that, I'm learning a lot that some of it I knew, some of it I'm like, holy shit, you guys are doing. Um, and we also put in a like I call it a short story, but really it's not because it's 10,000 words in there.
I have to laugh because I did, I was in your System Apocalypse anthology, the very first one. You were asking for short stories, and mine ended up being over 10,000 words also. So that makes me laugh.
Yeah. It's like I forced the next couple of people to write shorter, so it's like 6,000, 5 to 10,000 words is
Yeah.
generally where I'm trying to get people to give me short stories on, and then I write my own short story, and it's like 10,000 words, and I'm like, oh. But at least
You
they didn't
fall into
shout
the
at me.
same trap.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's the thing about writing shorts is you have to have an idea that fits within like $2,000 to $6,000 words, and if you
Yeah.
can't, it's just you know, it's so tough, so tough.
Yeah, it is a whole different style of writing than writing anything long form, and it's one that it takes some practice to even do. I've written a couple of more stories for other anthologies and was able to get it down a lot, but it's a lot harder than you think.
It is. I personally think a lot more authors should be working on short stories.
Hmm.
Because not only yes, it's a completely different skill set, but my personal belief is that we as authors generally don't write enough endings. And I have a
Yeah,
problem with a lot of books that come out, especially through the serial world and through just self-pub in general where the endings aren't very good.
yeah,
It's not that it's badly written, it's just they're just not good endings.
yeah. Not satisfying.
They're not emotionally satisfying. I was actually having a chat with Katie about this because it's not just it's the tricky thing when we're writing series too, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and you've got to write a series ending that is satisfying for the book.
Right.
Just gotta have enough pool to make them want to read the next one after.
Yep. Yep. I I know it is a industry-wide issue, but I feel like lit-RPG in general also, or progression fantasy also like really suffers from this because you've got the Royal Road and the serialized fiction groups that they just want it to keep going forever. And so then as authors, we kind of get in that mindset of, well, I need to keep doing it forever. So it's a tough thing to pull off. But at the same time, I love the endings. But then you've got authors that they write fantastic books and like E.A. Hooper, and it's a great trilogy, great 4 books, but then no one picks up their next series. And so as an author, you're like, oh, well, I don't get to write anymore because, this series sold really well, but no one's even touching my next series, even though they like what I wrote previously.
Yeah, that's we were chatting offline before this about the advice I used to give to authors on a more regular basis. And one of the pieces of advice I used to try to give to people, and one of the reasons why I stopped giving that advice or trying to push on it is because no one ever listened,
Mm.
is to start building the marketing systems beforehand. And I don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
EA's obviously I don't know what EA's background or whether or not they did anything. But I know a lot of people who came up during my period in the 2017s and everything who fell off a lot. Part of it is
Yeah.
burnout. Like that's a huge thing for us.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but a lot of it as well is the next book or the next series or whatever never took off as well. And part of that was there was a lack of back-end marketing,
Hmm.
promotions, and they had no systems in place. They had no ways of collecting fans and keeping in contact with their fans and uh, generating the buzz for the next one, you know. And it's a
Yeah,
tricky business. It,
it really is. There, you have to wear so many different hats.
it is. It's tough. I mean, you've got how many series now? I was looking at your page recently. I was like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, so there's my flagship series, The Accidental Minecraft Family,
Yeah,
which is up to, I'm writing book 44 today,
I see.
and which is a lot of fun. But book one is 12,000 words, so it's pretty short, but they've bumped up to about 30,000 words each, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where they stay at. And then there's 𝗥𝗯𝗕𝗶𝗶𝗂, which is like my Pokemon and Minecraft series. That I just finished writing book 26 for. And those are about 35,000 words each. And then I have a couple of series that didn't really pan out the way I wanted them to. One, which is my favorite because it's got a lot of Eastern philosophies and really like dipping into the Chinese and Japanese folklore and kind of blending it all together, called 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗎 the Minecraft Ninja. And I loved writing that series. I absolutely loved it. But it didn't, it sold maybe a quarter of the other books, so it didn't go anywhere. Then I got another series called Video Game Agents, which also ended at 4 books and it wasn't set in Minecraft. We tried to branch off into our own IP with it. And it once again was another series that didn't perform as well, even though they still exist in universe. All my universes are combined now, and they show up a lot, but the series itself didn't do so well. And then I just wrote another book. Well, I say just wrote, time flies. Last year, I used to be an evil genius, but now I have to save the world, which is another series that we tried to reach out of the Minecraft genre and into our own IP. It's a progression fantasy that we tried to market into the LitRPG/progression fantasy audience also, but it's another one that it didn't perform as well as we wanted it to. And it was a 100,000 word book too, which her 110. So that takes 2 to 3 times as long to write. So it's like, oh, it didn't even perform as well as my 30,000 word book. So it's kind of this weird offset. But I've got those 5 different series right now, and then this is kind of interesting. We have our accidental Minecraft family books. We have a daughter that has some mild dyslexia, and as big readers, we're always wanting our kids to
Mhm.
read. So we did a whole bunch of study and research and figured out how to make a dyslexia adapted version of the book. So the first 4 books in that series we released as dyslexia adapted print only. And those are very often, it's been 18 months now, I want to say, or 15 months. They're very often in our top 3 sellers on a daily basis. And so we wrote another series called Bruh, We're Stuck in Minecraft, which follows the same kind of concept of like an isekai adventure with some kids that get stuck in Minecraft and they have to get out. But it's only 4 books long instead of 40 books long. So the marketing concept behind that was, well, we want parents to spend, to buy more books. And so if we have just a short 4 book series, they'll get all of those. And that one's done pretty darn well too. It's a weird way to market it though, because it has a very long leg on it. At the beginning, you don't sell a bunch, but it just kind of like ramps up both of those series. So that, yeah, 6 different series, I want to say.
That's really nice. That's really cool. Sorry, I was just thinking. I was recently at the Ontario Library Association super conference up here, which
Oh,
is
fun.
basically where all the librarians show up and
Yeah.
whatnot. Um, and I found out that recently they're starting to allow self-published authors in there. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's cool.
The reason why I was thinking is I wonder if your local place has a library conference or whatever, because those dyslexia
Oh,
books
man.
in particular would be something I would a want to push out because there is a library association that does an email list out, so you could easily pay for a push, from them, but also just physically being there and The
Yeah, I
community
am.
that,
I'm actually busting open a Google Keep so I can make some notes on this. That's a fantastic idea.
yeah, no, I think if you go there, if you go and bring, I don't know, 20 to 50 copies of a book or whatever, to give away as arcs and, maybe blow
Yeah,
some of them and go so that people can flip through and go, hey, this is what we've done for dyslexia. This is why, blah, 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 bring your daughter if she's willing to talk about
yeah.
it. I think you could do really well that way because it's definitely something that especially librarians would be
Yeah.
huge into the
Well, I'll tell
library.
you, we're in a few of our local libraries here, and I had nothing to do with that. We just found out from other people, hey, I checked your book out at your this library, which is 3 miles away or something, and so I called the local library chain and was asking about it, and they say these books are constantly checked out all the time, which I love hearing.
Oh yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
it's
they're
amazing. No, I'm really glad to hear that actually. That's really cool. Uh, what do you have to do to go and make something dyslexic friendly?
it's quite a process, really. It's all about the formatting. So we did a bunch of different research on like fonts because there's two or three different dyslexia fonts, which are specifically made for people with
Right?
dyslexia. But
Yeah.
we wanted to target not just dyslexia because it's a spectrum. So there's dyslexia and dysgraphia, and there's it's a huge spectrum of how people are affected with reading disorders. And a lot of people on that spectrum, the dyslexic fonts make it worse. And a lot of people it helps. So we wanted to target as many people as possible. So we found through various dyslexia organizations, which is the font that is most widely used to cater to the widest demographic of people with reading disorders. So we put that in, but then also we have to adjust the gutter sizes, paragraph breaks, sentence breaks, and actual spacing between letters, and so it's a quite a big deal. And then a lot of times with LitRPG, you have things like bolded, so that because hey, this is in reference to an item you find or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't do a lot of that because it throws off how they compute what they're seeing on the page. So it was quite a process to figure out, and each book takes a 30,000 work book takes a day or two for us to reformat in that style.
Hmm. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. I love it because intrinsically as an author, especially catering to the demographic that we cater to, we get a lot of parents and grandparents and whatnot reaching out saying, "Hey, my kid never read a book, and they read your book, and now they love reading," and that's the best thing in the whole wide world to me. But when we have people saying, "My kid has dyslexia, and reading has been the biggest struggle," and they reach out and say that now their kid's reading and they're falling in love with books, and they never thought they'd be able to, that's even better of an intrinsic feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, that's it's always lovely to get comments like that, especially from areas that you don't expect. I recently got a letter from a prison.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Down in the States. So I'm like, oh, okay, I
Yeah,
gotta go and I gotta finish writing the letter back to them and
yeah,
like get it in the mail back to them. I'm like, okay.
that's great.
Things like it's weird that where books end up. And
Yeah, well, and
how
then when you find out it's giving hope to someone, it's the best.
yeah, exactly. There's some really good comments that you get as authors that make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I love getting to do what I do.
So you're full time at I know you're full time for the last few years. How
Yes,
long have you been full time?
since 2020.
20. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, a
Was that a
while now.
choice considering the only reason I asked is because it's 2020, so
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. In 2019, I was writing for NaNoWriMo, and I was
cool.
writing my first book, Primeverse, which is an adult lit RPG. And then you put out the all call for authors for the System Apocalypse anthology. And I was a huge, and still am, a huge fan of System Apocalypse. I feel like it's like the pinnacle of that era's style of lit RPG. And so I was like, hey, I want to do this. So I submitted the story, and you said, hey, I'll put this in. And that kind of like lit a fire under my butt for, oh, well, I got to get my book finished so that I can, tag team the release of this with the release of a book I wrote. That book came out right in the height of COVID, my book, and it made enough money for me to go, oh, wow, this is potentially a way I could make money. I could make a living doing it. I didn't think I could actually make a living then because, it was still not chump change, but it was a decent amount of money. But this was also during the height of when LitRPG was like really taking off. So
Yeah.
people were starved. Now we have a wealth of opportunities of things to read. So I put out the rest of the books in the trilogy, and it was weird. I got a 50% drop in read through for book two, and then another 50% drop in read through for book three, which is really disappointing. So I stopped writing that. But this was while COVID was still going on, and I was in restaurant sales. And in Washington State, they closed all the restaurants. So I was effectively out of a career, but I was getting unemployment. So because I was getting unemployment, it gave me the opportunity to have a safety net to write other books. And so I never had to go back to work. I started writing the Minecraft series, and it took off, and I haven't had to go back to work since 2020. Working for the man anyway. We definitely really work a whole lot as authors.
There is a lot of work on the
Oh
back.
yeah.
Are you by yourself, or I know it's somewhat of a family business. So.
Yeah, my wife does all my editing. I like to say I write the books and she makes them better, because she points out all the flaws in my sentence structure, and corrects it. So because I don't know if I'm weird or what, but a lot of times the things that I write, the sentence could be easily ironed out to make a lot more sense and read more fluidly. So she does a lot of that, which is great. And then she also injects a lot of like humor and missing elements, because she's that second set of eyes. And I love being a team, getting to work with my wife. It's brought us closer as a couple, and it's great for our business too.
Sorry, I laugh because it's completely the opposite with me and my wife. The one time we found ourselves working very closely together, and this was ages ago in my former business.
Yeah.
That was the most strenuous 1 month of our relationship.
1 month. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we had to do the books at the end because the books were my ex-partner, business partner, didn't get the books done like they were
Oh,
supposed to. And so we had to rush to get the books done.
oh.
And
So that adds a whole other level of
that
stress.
was, yeah, there was a bunch of stress in there. And there was a bunch of stress in just the way that she and I work are very different. And the way
Mhm.
she and I communicate, especially for business sides of stuff, is very different. And so it just,
Well, so I feel like we were a little blessed, because for us it was like this paradigm shift of working for the man, where I'm gone from home all day long, to now we're doing this thing that is bringing so much joy. Like it was like this complete shift in our entire lives. And so I'm sure that helped a lot with the excitement and enthusiasm of us being able to work together on a better basis. I know we've been doing it for so long that it is what it is.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm, as I said, little jealous. Mostly I'm okay. I like being, in many ways, the sole boss of this side of the career, and I'm like, it's why I laugh because someone recently invited me to join a committee, and I was just like, no.
No thanks. Not interested.
I've
Uh,
worked for nonprofit committees before,
yeah.
and I generally am not the best person for them.
Yeah, nonprofits can be a whole mess.
Yeah, I love what they do. I love some of the goals behind them, but a lot of them are very entrenched in the ways they do things.
Yep.
And when I come from online digital, background, right? It's the what's the joke, move fast and break things kind of thing.
They don't do a lot of that.
It's just like, yeah, whatever. We'll fix it on
Yeah.
the back end. Let's keep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my biggest thing is I cannot do things like that. I'm just like too so.
Well, being a self-published author, or, I mean, you took it a step further, which I really admire with your own publishing company now. That's so cool. I would love to pursue that sort of option, but at the same time, we've got 5 kids, so it makes it difficult to add more onto our plate. But we've been approached by people saying, "Hey, we'd love to get a book published with you," and so I'd love to pursue that. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. So I give you mad props for being able
I
to
mean,
go
I
that
grew
route.
back from that too, right?
Yeah.
The only people I publish otherwise are co-authors. I did
Okay.
listen early on during during the pandemic, just to kind of give, the potential for a lifeline for someone to go and publish back then, because
Yeah.
we were paying advances and everything. But what I found was that being a dev editor.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like having not having that level of control where I can go into a work and go, hey, there's a problem here. And I know
Yeah.
that now that I'm more experienced, I'm realized that that is possible with certain dev editors. It just depends on how you want to run that.
Yeah.
But I found that working with co-authors was a lot easier in the sense that I already knew what the co-authors were doing. I know how they write and whatnot. But also, I can just say, no, we're not doing that. And we're going to, or
Yeah.
I'm going to go in and physically alter the text because I am a co-author in here. Or and so for like Katie's work as a of Australia, there were some times when she'd leave a fight scene blank and says, "Hey, Tao, can you write this for me?"
Ah, nice. That's
Um,
awesome.
and so I'd write the fight scene.
Yeah.
And then partly because back then Katie's fight scenes weren't what I would consider up to my standard kind of thing.
Hmm.
Her fight scenes these days are much better. Like by the time book 3 came along,
Yeah.
she kind of got a feel of what I was looking at and how I liked them. And so
See,
I
that's interesting because it shows you that even in writing, there's so many other things to learn to do, like fight scenes and romance, and every aspect, not just getting the prose down, but every aspect has its own like sub aspect that it's hard to learn, and it's a skill that you have to practice.
yeah, for sure. I joke that I need to go and start up a new pen name to write erotica. I can't write sex scenes. It's like
Yeah,
that. All my work is closed door stuff, if there is
yeah,
any mention of it, because I don't have the skill set to write sex scenes. And a part of
yeah.
that is I just don't write them. I
Well,
don't
that works
practice
great for progression fantasy. The readers don't seem to want any kind of like romance at all.
for
So,
the most part. Yeah, they don't. It depends. I think there's some you can. Uh, and some people like Raven's Dagger has done pretty well with
oh yeah,
having side sex scenes that are they're almost bonus chapters that you go onto the Patreon and read them kind of thing.
oh, that's interesting.
So it's I think there is a market for it, but yeah,
Yeah,
there is a large chunk of people who are just not interested in it, which is fair.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. They're in
I
there to power fantasy and vicariously live through the main characters, and they just want numbers go up and battles get bigger.
Yep. I mean, I get it. A lot of sex scenes I also skip too when I read. That's
Yeah.
probably a reason why I'm not very good at writing, is because I skip them in when I hit books too. I'm just like,
Yep.
If I want to read erotica, I'll read erotica. If I want to read,
Exactly.
so it's
Yeah.
too
Let me
mind.
get to the next crafting section.
Yes. I always it's interesting to me when I read the RPG crafting side of it. I'm always curious how much you can tell when someone knows his stuff and when it
Oh
doesn't.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like I wish there were more. people with more diverse skill sets in crafting. It's like I would
It's
love to,
a fun genre.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to have someone who knows how to actually blacksmith, come and
Yes.
write a RPG about blacksmithing because most of the smithing stuff is very hand wavy.
Oh yeah, or they, their smithing is, I take this item and I break it down into magic dust and I use the magic dust to for, and it's like it's not really blacksmithing, it's mostly magic.
Mhm. That type of stuff can be fun, but I like the details. You know,
Yeah.
that's but so are you not writing any more adult lit RPG stuff anymore?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that. We actually have a new book coming out in a couple of months that's called Slice of Life Isekai.
Okay.
And it is a slice of life story, cozy fantasy. That market seems to be, I don't know if it's like blazing hot right now, but it's kind of a bigger market that's growing. And we wanted to try our hand writing something in that because it's fun. We like to read it. It's great to get that cozy feel. So it's about a guy who gets truck cooned into this world, and this world, it's a fantasy world, and there's a very light system elements. Um, but this world doesn't have pizza, and he owned a pizza shop in New York. So it's all about him bringing pizza to the world, slice of life isekai. So that's
Ah,
our new book coming out. We're in the
I
editing
see the
phase right
pun.
now. Yeah.
Definitely send that to me or let me know because I'll any books about food I will read,
Oh, great! I love hearing that.
Well, I mean, I was Actus wrote his one about the Monster Chef, the Orc
Oh
Chef one.
yeah,
Yeah, I read all of them. I was just like I really enjoyed it. Uh,
yeah,
it was funny. I've written my own cozy fantasy, the Hidden Dishes series, though it's pure cozy fantasy,
yeah.
cozy urban fantasy kind of thing. Um, I really like cozy fantasy. I think I struggle in the sense that I'm not on the business side of it, right? Complete
Hmm.
outside, whether or not it makes more sense to write something with lit RPG elements or not, right? Because there is a
Yes.
very cozy lit RPG element and market out there.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's definitely a lot of it in there. Like
Yeah.
even
That was a big struggle for us deciding how much, system element to have in, and we wanted to write it for lit RPG readers, but at the same time, um, having too much system wasn't what we wanted. We wanted it to be, there to show skills and add some magic to the world without having a Hogwarts style magic system. Um, and so we struggled really hard with this one on getting the system just right. Eventually, I ended up going to Wandering In and really studying and doing a deep dive on how she does her system and kind of emulating a lot of factors of that. There's some key differences, but the system that story uses, and I don't know if you'd call it a cozy. It's definitely progression fantasy, but it very much uses a light system, but at the same time, it's there and it helps people. So that's kind of how we approached that.
yeah, the Wandering In's a weird one.
Yeah,
It's certainly cozy in the beginning
yeah,
ish.
ish, yep. And then it gets a lot darker.
It gets so dark. It's epic fantasy now. It's
Yeah,
what 14 million words long.
I know it's insane. It blows my mind.
I every few months or every year or so I'll just stop and I'll stop doing anything and for like 2 to 3 weeks I'll just
Yeah.
read
Oh
and catch
wow.
up on them because I love their work and I'm a big I've been a Patreon supporter for ages kind of thing.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's I think I stopped Patreon like a year ago just because I was so far behind on the read. I'm just
I
like,
have to catch up before I can pay more.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we buy the audiobooks because I got my son into The Wandering Inn, so he
Hmm.
listens to all of it that way.
Oh,
Though
that's great.
it'll be, and we got my wife into it because we were
Yeah,
on a
even
road trip.
my wife's not even a LitRPG fan, and she likes it. So
Yeah, we were on a road trip and we threw it on, and then she started listening to it. It's like, oh, I liked
this
it.
is good. Yeah.
So, but Andrea does such an amazing job on it.
Oh man, I agree. That was another one of those things where it's like you see someone, she left the series, and so there's all this big hubbub, but I'm sure it's still in good hands and being well taken care of.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
the sheer amount she could literally do just that series for the rest of her life, and
Yep.
I think there's a certain amount of burnout where you kind of can't do it, and when it's taking up 6 months of your year or 8 months of
Yeah.
your year, just this is all on you.
You eat, sleep, and breathe that one thing. I talked to some other audiobook narrators, and a lot of them, they feel the same way. They're like, so, these series, I want to start seeing some endings because they just run and run and run and run. And, even the narrators are like, hey, I'd like to conclude this and have a great ending for it.
It's a problem with it's the web novel problem, right?
Yeah.
And I say web novel in as in the Chinese web novel company, where I think I think we're already seeing some of it where when sales drop off significantly enough, some of these people are just going to end it like within
Yep.
30 chapters, and then there's going to be a lot of pissed off people.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
uh,
see, when I write a book or a series, I like to think of the ending first, so I can think of how awesome and how great is this payoff going to be, and then I can build everything up toward that. But when you write in a market that is just continuous, you don't get to do that a lot unless, like you said, you have those hooks that kind of lead into more stories, but don't necessarily follow the same exact arc. My first series, the Accidental Minecraft Family, I didn't know exactly what I was doing there, so it took 30 books to get to the end of that series, and then but I continued it with them going. Now they're back home in the real world, but now they have the ability to hop into Minecraft whenever they want. So they work for an agency where they dive into Minecraft to save other kids that get stuck in there. And so the other 15 books in the series follow duologies where they get to do that. So it's like a Magic Treehouse style where they have two books and they go on this really cool adventure and neat stuff happens that's totally different than the original series. And then they come out and I get to write something else in another style of genre. But I always get to have an ending and an arc and just have it complete.
nice.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a lot of fall off between readers for your series? Or
No, no.
nice.
Yeah, they're a little bit once they hit book 30, where the main arc ends. Then there's some drop off, but if they continue on to 31 plus, it pretty much stays the same, which is fantastic.
That's really good. Yeah. It was interesting because at least for mine, between books 9 to 12 is where we see the biggest kind of slope of people dropping off, beginning to drop off. And
Was
then
that when he was that jumping from Earth, or are you talking about Thousand Lee or System
for both,
Apocalypse?
for both.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
System Apocalypse stayed relatively consistent, but we
Hmm.
did see a bit more. Like it went from 90 something plus percent read through rates down to like 80 something, 80,
Okay.
82% for book nine.
Was
Book
that the
10, book
shift
10,
from Earth to
book 10.
space?
No,
Because I
that
know
was
that kind of got a lot
when
of
that
people.
was the final arc kind of thing,
Oh, okay.
last
God, that
three
was such
books.
a good arc.
Uh, I don't, yeah, I don't know why, but we started seeing that. Books 6 to 7, we did see that was another one where we did see a bit of a drop off there for sure. And
Okay.
then the book 10 to 12 for System Apocalypse, that we see a bit of a drop off as well.
Now,
But
do you
overall,
see it when your arcs kind of come to a conclusion, but
uh, mm, only between 6 to 7, right? And
okay.
9 to 10. That's the ones we had. Between 3 to 4, not so much. That was not in no
Yeah.
change there. I think because the between 3 to 4, it's still within the Earth arc kind of thing, and
Yeah.
what's happening. So people are still reading through. But System Apocalypse read-through rates are ridiculous. Like they are so much better than 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 read-through rates, which is surprising. I
That
mean,
is surprising.
ATL read-through, I kind of get why. ATL is partly because of where we market ATL to, right? 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏
Hmm.
is not your everyday progression fantasy
Right. It's a
or
much
cooperative.
slower pace. I like it because that slower pace kind of feels more realistic, which I know that that's kind of what you were going for. It's not the power fantasy OP. I have the secret skill that lets me crush everybody. It's the struggles of an everyday guy, going through the progression, and I love that about it.
Yeah, oh, but that also means that, and I really enjoyed it. But the regular progression fantasy readers, some of them are like, this is
Yeah.
not, this is not for me, right? Or and there's aspects of it, like book three has a big, between 3 to 4, there's a big drop off, partly because book three, there's aspects of it, that is very Taoist, and the
Hmm.
Taoist principles, and it's very in some ways it's not very satisfying as a book. I look at it now and I'm looking at it going, I know why people are dropping off. It's a good book in itself, but I understand why certain readers who don't understand or don't like the point about
Yeah.
aren't going to enjoy it. Uh, and so that's, I think, my biggest problem with the ATL series is that we have these progression fantasy readers who get onto it and they're enjoying parts and portions of it, but then they're like, you know,
Yeah.
it's too slow, or oh, he depowered the guy here, or he got cornered here, or oh no, he
Yeah.
sacrificed something here, and it's not what the progression fantasy readers like, right?
Yep.
Like that, they want numbers go up.
Yep. Yep. And never go back.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas
It's such a fun market because there's so many you know so many tropes that you have to adhere to, but also you can go off in different directions. But you're still going to get readers, just not as many. But it's an interesting market. I love it.
it is, and I think there is a necessity for people to write different stuff.
Oh
Otherwise,
yeah.
uh, it becomes too similar, and then there's no market growth because people are in there. But I'm not, I know. And I think if you market, depending on who you get, like I know fantasy readers, generic epic fantasy readers, or just general fantasy readers who read ATL, who really
Hmm.
like it because it, in some ways, it's written more as general fantasy
Yeah,
rather
I could
than
see that.
progression fantasy, and so you get this kind of conflict going on. Um, but it also makes me wonder about how when because there's this big push to drive um lit RPG and many of the stuff that we've been reading into bookstores. And
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be a kickback on the other side of it, right? Um,
Yeah,
where
I could
it's
see that.
like, there's not a lot of emotion on it, there's not a lot of stakes, or the other one that we've been talking about. This is book 17.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, well, but it works fantastic for self-publishing.
It
and
does.
and for KU readers in particular, there's people that are reading one, maybe two books a day, and so it is the right genre for them.
It is definitely the area for KU readers for sure. I'm really curious because I know 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 is going, and I wonder if there's just going to be two streams of lit RPG, certain types of
Yeah,
lit RPG with like 5 books or 7 books or whatever, or 3 books
yeah,
that goes through 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏, and then there's, our stream, and
I could see that.
sometimes they'll mesh like Matt's
Yep,
work,
yep.
But I think Matt's work, I know he has to have an ending somewhere in like 10 to 12 books,
Oh yeah,
just because of how the flaws and whatever he's talked about is set up.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I think he's talked about having, he knows the ending already too. So
yeah,
that goes back to that thing as an author. Start at the ending and then build forward.
yeah. I find I almost never want to write a book again if I don't know what the ending is, just
Yeah.
because you kind of I find
You
I
meander.
yeah, you meander, and I end up deleting and rewriting so much because it's only when I figure out the ending, it's like, oh,
Yeah. Now I
you
have to
just
go through and redo so much.
yeah. I don't mind if the book endings I generally know, and series endings is what I really need to know. If I don't know what my series is ending, I don't really want to write that series.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and see, I learned a lot from my flagship series being 30 books long, and my second flagship series, I write it in arcs. So I've got okay, the first three books is a whole complete story that ends with an arc, and there's a hook to the next arc, and then the next arc is 4 books long, and so each one follows its own specific plot line and has a conclusive ending, but also continues the story into the next, I'm up to 26 books in that series now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you write like over 1 mil plus words a year, don't you? Something like that.
It's right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I'm always like looking at those numbers and going, holy crap. You know,
Well, I mean, if you count stuff that doesn't even get published or see the light of day, it's definitely right around there because we've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 books that didn't even get published that are like adult style lit RPGs, but it's tough because I'm on the hamster wheel if I have to keep producing the middle grade books, and so that's our primary bread. So we got to keep working on that. So then I'm taking 2 weeks off before I jump into this next book again, and so there's a lot of stuff that we rewrite that doesn't see the light of day too.
do you do a lot of advertising to go and keep sales
Okay,
going or?
so that's a great question. No is the answer, and the reason for that is we cannot advertise to our target audience. We can only advertise. Yeah, we our target audience is kids 8 to 12. They don't buy stuff,
Right.
so we have to target a secondary audience, parents, librarians, teachers, whatever, to get them to buy the books. But what ends up happening is a lot of times we've tried marketing so many different ways. Um, Everybody's competing for their eyes, and what happens is those readers, they see something and they're like, "Oh, that's neat. I want to get that." But then the next ad comes up for a book that's actually something they want to read, not that they'd want to get their kid. And so our advertising doesn't go as strongly as it could. Right now, we only advertise on Amazon
Yeah.
because it's the only thing that turns a profit in terms of advertising. We've done it on Facebook. We've tried, I don't know, 2 or 3 times and not gotten anywhere. Just lost money.
Yeah. No, I can see Facebook being terrible for you guys. I
Yeah.
wonder if you guys could work with YouTube streamers or whatnot, but those guys are expensive, I bet.
Yes. Yeah. That
They're
that
like,
is another issue. I'd love to, but then you're also competing with them from getting eyeballs on them to watch versus taking their eyes off to read. So it's like this, dichotomy of, well, I don't want to advertise something that's going to prevent them from watching my show.
yeah.
So advertising is tricky for us. Amazon seems to work well. We've got a bunch of ads that they're not amazing, and for some reason they don't scale. Like we can't throw more money at them and have them work, but they're producing, and so that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, Amazon ads are weird. Like
Yeah,
there are ways to scale them, but you really need to put a lot of time into it to
yep,
get it. And it's often not even worth it. We
yeah.
found to a
Yeah, the
certain
amount
level.
of time spent doing it when it could just be writing another book,
Yeah.
it's
Or
yeah. And
hiring
we
someone.
even no knocking these guys, but we even went with an advertising agency for a couple of months, and we, increased our ad spend tremendously. Who they focus specifically on Amazon ads, and even they couldn't scale it or get ads working to the level that it would pay for using the agency even. So it's like, we'll
I
just do what
think
we're doing.
we've used a couple of agencies who have done great for us. But the problem was that by the time you took out their agency fee and
Yeah,
our profit, it was like,
I'm making
are we
less.
breaking even here?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, maybe we should still do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go back and do it because it does mean that we had more readers in total. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and read through rate makes that pay off, but it's a tough racket to try to be in, especially when you do it. I write for a living, so I need to make sure that everything. And here's the one sad aspect of what I write. LitRPG has the benefit of audiobooks that can sell more than double what you're going to get from income for KU readers or for other sales. My middle grade books, they don't have that audience.
No,
Parents don't want to buy audiobooks for kids. I'm not sure what it is. We've got books through Sound Booth, we've got books through Royal Guard, we've got books that we've done on our own. They just do not sell
are
at
you
all.
are you on Audible only?
Yes.
Okay, that might be a problem.
Yeah.
Talk to Royal Guard. Actually, Royal Guard won't do it. You might
Sound
want
Booth
to,
will.
yeah, some booth, but do they go on to places like Spotify and whatnot?
See, that's a good question. I don't know. I need to have another meeting with them. We did have a meeting, I don't know, about 6 months back about going that direction. But they were, right in the middle of launching their new app, and it was, kind of a crazy time for them.
Yeah.
So I do need to bring that back up and see if we can get that.
Here's my experience with shorter works. I do not, the Audible sucks. It's if
Hmm.
your work is less than 4 hours long or 6 hours, really, Audible sucks.
Yeah.
But I've taken a lot of, I guess I write, 60,000 and 30,000 and 20,000 word books. I take them, I have the first 3 months in Audible exclusive just to take the cream of the crop and whatever.
Okay.
And after that, I take them out into exclusive and then I sell them online. And that's where we see a lot of sales from
Interesting.
um, libraries can generate quite a chunk of it. And Spotify and Storytel. Those are the three that make us the most money for our short
Okay.
books. Um, like I sell shorts, like 6,000 word shorts on a regular basis, by being wide. And I wouldn't
Huh.
sell anything on Amazon,
Yeah.
uh,
All right. Well,
Audible.
that's interesting. I might have to look into that. I'll talk to, Sound Booth. They're the ones that I think have the best. Because at Royal Guard, I know they won't go wide at all. Which more power to them. They've got it. They got a great thing going on.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
really good at what they do.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense for them not to.
Yep.
It would make life so miserable in terms of uh reporting. I mean, one thing you could do is just try, I don't know, you probably are licensed all the way up to the wazoo for a while. But if you got a new shorter work coming out, try to just make it yourself and
Yeah.
go direct because it makes
Yeah. We did that with. I used to be an evil genius, but now I have to save the world. Although we did. What is it where you pair with someone on Audible?
right
So
royalty
so we
share.
did. Yeah, royalty share. So we did a royalty share version with them on that. I'd love to just. I kind of have a fascination with voice acting and narrating. I'd love to just narrate one of my own series and do it that way, and then produce it all and do it, and see how that could go.
You're brave. I
Well,
wouldn't.
I've got 5 kids and I read to them every single night, and I go into my son's class at school and I read the books. So it's like I could do this. This is fun. I'm not saying that it's necessarily easy, but it could be an enjoyable experience and I could learn it.
Yep. And there's certainly, I think there's a small demand for people for actual read
Hmm.
works. Um, I, yeah, it's not an area that I would ever get into.
Well, it's a whole other. I mean, it's a whole lot more work too that you got to
Yes.
add onto your plate then if you want to do it. So, it's a flight of fancy. I'd love to, but once again, it's like I could be writing a book.
That seems to be the answer to a lot of when you're talking to self-help people, a lot of times it's I could be writing a book.
Yep. Yep.
All right. I think it's about time that we call it because I think we're coming up to an hour on this.
Okay.
So we should probably
Yeah.
uh stop talking. Otherwise, the
We could just
host
keep
will
going.
enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm gonna let you give a chance to go and pitch your work again, and then everything will be in links at the bottom too.
Sure, great. So we have our flagship series, the Accidental Minecraft Family. It's 40 books long, but the first 30 books, as I've mentioned, is a complete arc. It follows a family, mom, dad, two kids, and their cat who wake up in Minecraft. The parents don't know anything about it, so the kids get to be in charge, which is a whole lot of fun. And then I've got another series, my other flagship series called 𝗥𝗯𝗕𝗶𝗂𝘂, which is a Minecraft in or pardon me, a Pokemon in Minecraft series. I say Pokemon, but I don't want to run into any licensing issues with Nintendo. But it's basically the same kind of thing: monster taming and lots of monster battling and stuff. So those are our two series. If you find those, chances are you're going to find everything else that we write and really get into it. We have they turn into the kind of thing where you'll walk into your kid's room and yell at them because they've been caught reading. So, they're very addictive. Kids seem to love them. And I highly recommend, if you have got kids 8 to 12 and older even, get them into the books.
All right. And I'm Tao Wong. You know who I am and where to find my links if you're on this channel. And thanks again, Rob, for coming along.
Thanks. It was a great time.